Welcome back to day 3 of the No More Shit Challenge. Day 3 of my 5-day challenge. No more shit. No more shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. Last night we talked about shame, which is the S in shit. Tonight we're going to be diving into the H in shit, which is the hurt. We're going to be continuing this powerful journey toward freedom and healing. I'm going live on TikTok and on YouTube, so I'm going to be going back and forth between cameras. But over the past 2 days, we've laid, the groundwork for understanding why it's so important to let go of shit, shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. Yesterday, we took a deep dive into shame, and today we're going to focus on another emotion that can hold you back, and that emotion is hurt. Hurt is something we all experience in this life, but it's not always something that we know how to process or heal from. It can come from broken relationships, unmet expectations, betrayals, or losses. And when hurt goes unaddressed, it can linger, turning into resentment, anger, or even affecting our physical health. My earliest memory of hurt is rooted in my relationship with my father. As a child, I longed for his embrace, for his approval, and for a sense of connection. But instead of feeling his warmth and acceptance, I often felt the sting of rejection. It wasn't just the absence of physical affection that created this hurt, but the emotional distance that seemed to grow wider with each passing year as I got older. I remember countless moments when I tried to express myself, to share my thoughts and feelings with him, only to be met with criticism instead of understanding. Does anybody relate to what that feels like from a parent? When I tried to talk to him, it often left me feeling unheard and dismissed. It was as if nothing I said or did could bridge the gap between us. And the more I tried, the more misunderstood I felt. As a child, this constant feeling of being criticized and misunderstood planted deep seeds of hurt within me. I began to internalize the belief that I was somehow flawed and that I wasn't good enough to be loved or accepted as I was. This hurt became a part of me, shaping the way I saw myself and the world around me. And this feeling of not being good enough would eventually be the foundation for the types of relationships that I attracted. The pain of never feeling fully embraced by my father was more than just a momentary sting. It was a wound that lingered, influencing my sense of self-worth and creating insecurities that I carried into my adulthood. The hurt I experienced as a child didn't just stay in the past. It transcended time, embedding itself in my thoughts and my actions, affecting the way I related to others and worse off, to myself. But tonight, I want to acknowledge this hurt for what it is, a part of my story, but not the entirety of who I am. The pain I felt as a child was real, and it shaped me in so many ways. But as I became aware and healed the emotional pain, I chose not to allow it to define me. Tomorrow, we're going to dive deeper into how this early hurt led to the insecurities that many of us struggle with. But for tonight, let's take a moment to recognize the impact of hurt in our lives. If you know anyone who is struggling with hurt, I want you to invite them, send them the link, invite them to this, because hurt is something that too many people suffer with in silence. When we understand where our pain comes from, that is the first step in healing it. By sharing what I shared with you with regards to my story, I hope to open the door for you to reflect on your own experiences of hurt. We all have moments in our lives that have left scars, but together we can begin to heal those wounds and move forward with greater self-awareness and strength. Today is about recognizing that hurt doesn't have to control your life. You don't have to carry it with you forever. We're going to explore how hurt shows up in our lives, the ways it can shape our thoughts and actions, but most importantly, how we can begin to heal from it. This session tonight is about reclaiming your power by releasing the pain that no longer serves you. It's about acknowledging the hurt, understanding its impact, and making a conscious choice to let the shit go. Remember, healing is a process and it's okay to take it one step at a time. As we move through today's session, I encourage you to be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to feel, to reflect, and to open up the possibility of healing. You are stronger than your hurt. And today we're going to start transforming that pain into strength and resilience. So as we reflect on the impact of hurt in our lives, it's important to recognize how deeply it can affect us. The wounds we carry, especially those from our earliest experiences, have a way of shaping our perceptions, our relationships, and our sense of self-worth. Hurt often leaves us feeling vulnerable, disconnected, and sometimes even powerless. But by understanding the nature of our hurt, we can begin to reclaim our power and heal from within. So let's dive into some key insights on how hurt manifests in our lives and the steps we can take to address it. We got to understand the hurt. Hurt is a natural emotional response to experiences of pain, betrayal, or loss. Hurt can stem from various sources in our lives, and understanding where it comes from is crucial to addressing and healing it. So, here are some common sources of hurt. Family relationships. That's where my initial source of hurt came in, through my relationship with my dad. Because hurt often originates from our closest relationships, particularly within the family. Criticism, my experience. Lack of affection, my experience. Emotional neglect or unmet expectations from parents, siblings, or other family members can leave deep emotional wounds. Our hurt can come from rejection. My initial rejection was felt by my dad. And I said to you, if you caught my story, that it later transcended into my adult relationships. Whether it's being rejected by your parent, by a partner, by friends, or a community, rejection can cause significant emotional pain. The feeling of being unwanted or unworthy can create long-lasting scars. Man, let me tell you something. I struggled with rejection for a long time, and it affected how I showed up in so many areas of my life, in my personal and professional relationships, right? Rejection is something that goes really deep. Sometimes rejection is often understood, especially if it comes in through a parent or in an early relationship. But you got to recognize when rejection is the driver in your car and make a decision to face that shit, to erase it, because rejection can impact you so deeply. Betrayal is another source by which hurt comes in. Feeling betrayed by someone you trust, such as a partner, a friend, or a colleague, can lead to intense feelings of hurt. It disrupts your sense of security and trust, and it leaves you feeling vulnerable and isolated, and nobody likes to feel vulnerable. But one of the things that I have learned for myself about really showing up vulnerable is I'm showing up authentic when I show up vulnerable, because I'm being true to who I am and true to how I feel. Another way that hurt comes in, and this is a major part of my story, is through the death of a loved one, the end of a significant relationship, or even the loss of a job or opportunity. These can be profound sources of hurt. Grief often accompanies loss, making the emotional impact even more intense. When I was 31 years old, my sister, my only sister, my baby sister, was killed in a car accident. She was 29 years old. That impacted me at such a deep level, and it took a long time to get over that. That hurt that I carried was so deep, and that hurt actually transcended into rage. I felt so much rage for so long because, whether fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes it feels easier to be angry than it does to feel hurt or to be sad. So often when you see people walking around angry, or you're walking around angry, it's because there's a deep sense of hurt on the inside that has not been addressed and it has not been healed. Another source of hurt is physical, emotional, or psychological abuse. These can cause deep and lasting hurts, especially when experienced as a child. The trauma from abuse can affect self-esteem, mental health, and the ability to form healthy relationships. We allow fear to be the driver in so many experiences that we have, especially as it pertains to our relationships. And that's why often people are self sabotaging great relationships, self sabotaging being happy, because there is this subconscious expectation to be hurt. So you have to address the hurt. You have to face the hurt, especially if you want to be free in your life. You're not going to feel a sense of peace if you're walking around with hurt inside of you. Another source of hurt is unmet expectations or disappointment. When life does not go as planned or when others don't meet your expectations, it can lead to disappointment and hurt. And this can occur in personal relationships, careers, or other areas where expectations are high. Criticism and judgment. Oh, Lord, that's what I felt. I felt that for so much of my early life. I felt constantly criticized. I felt constantly judged from my father, from teachers. And what was so ironic for me is that it really showed up from males, because I always felt very supported by my mother. So I had this negative experience when it came to the men in my life, right? And that feeling can erode your self-worth, and it can create a pervasive sense of hurt. And this can come, this sense of judgment, criticism. For me, it came from my father, it came from my teachers, but it can also come from your peers, from people who you go to school with, from societal standards. I hear so many people talking about, imposter syndrome, feeling like an imposter. Well, you feel like an imposter when you don't really feel good enough within yourself, and then you have this sense that other people are judging you internally. So hurt needs to be healed. Another source of hurt is feelings of abandonment. Whenever you feel like you've been physically or emotionally abandoned by someone that you care about, this can cause deep-seated hurt. And it often leads to feelings of loneliness and insecurity. So the I in shit is insecurity, and we're going to be talking more about that tomorrow. But there are so many people who are feeling lonely right now. It's almost like we're afraid to show up in relationships. The world has been so weird, for the last maybe 10 years. And it got even more so after COVID, where people just had this sense of being really uncomfortable connecting with each other. And we need to find our way to ourselves so that we can find our way back to relationships. Childhood experiences, we talked about this. Many sources of our hurt are rooted in our childhood experiences, such as feeling misunderstood. That was my story. I always felt misunderstood by my dad, and I felt misunderstood by other people because I always was different. And I felt like something was wrong with me because I did not feel embraced by the first man in my life, which led to me not really feeling understood or embraced by men in relationships as I got older. And early wounds can often resurface in adulthood. So if you have unhealed hurt from your childhood, that's going to transfer over into your adulthood. And then there's self-inflicted hurt. Sometimes hurt can come from within, driven by negative self-talk. We often are our worst critics. I mean, when I hear how some people talk about themselves, I'm like, well, shit, no wonder your body is fighting you, because you just ain't got nothing good to say about yourself, right? Internal hurt can be just as damaging or even more damaging as hurt inflicted by others. And we have to learn how to love ourselves. You have to learn how to recognize the sources of hurt so that you can begin to address them. You have to get to the root cause. That is the work that I do with my clients. I don't treat symptoms. I don't treat the headache. I surgically go in and remove the brain tumor, because there's a lot of emotional disconnect. There's a lot of emotional trauma that people are dealing with, and they don't want to sit with it. A lot of people are very opposed to therapy. That's why as a life coach, I create a more relaxed and safer space, because I understand that it can be really difficult to dive deep into those areas of your life that are hurtful, but therapy just simply means healing. And so if you're wounded, then you need to get healed. I just found out yesterday that someone who I knew very well had passed away last year in October. And I, had to call her mom this morning. And I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. I said, I just found out. And she was like, devastated that I had just found out because she thought that somebody else who I'm very close to would have told me, and I asked her how she's processing it. And she said, it's really difficult. It's been really difficult. She said, but it's getting better. And I told her, she knows my story. She knows all of the loss that I've been through. And I said, one of the things that I've come to appreciate in life is going to life. Life is always going to life. And one of the things that we can be certain of in this life is that we're going to feel pain and we're going to feel hurt. But we can heal through it. But I told her, I said, when you lose someone who is very close to you, who you love through death, the wound will heal, but the scar will always be there. But we get to choose how we see that scar, what story we attach to that scar, and often when we experience a real sense of hurt that comes in by way of relationships or by way of losing someone who is very close to us, we can ask ourselves the question, would I have rather never had them in my life? Hey, Ramel, would I rather have never had them in my life? Or would I have rather had them for the time that I had them? That helps us to look at the situation with gratitude. And I believe that every experience that we have serves as a teacher. It teaches us how to be strong. It teaches us how to overcome. It teaches us how to be there for other people. It teaches us how to have empathy and be compassionate. Something that, we need to restore to the world now. But we have to have empathy and we have to have compassion for ourselves. Right? And when you experience hurt, there is going to be some emotional scarring. There's going to be a scar. But the pain doesn't have to be attached to the scar forever. The wound can heal. Yes, we're going to have the scar there. But you get to decide what story you attach to the scar. And you have to be intentional about that because, the story that you tell is the experience that you're going to have in your life. And your emotional scars will influence your thoughts, your behaviors, and your relationships long after the event. Right? And so that's why healing is necessary. You have to take the time to heal. Because if you don't, hurt can cause trust issues. It can damage your ability to trust others. And I say it this way, you shouldn't trust everybody. You really shouldn't. There are people out there who are not trustworthy. You shouldn't trust everybody, but you got to trust some bodies. And I put an S on there because I don't want to just trust one person. Supposing that person isn't available anymore, right? You don't trust everybody, but you have to trust some bodies. And if you don't heal the hurt, especially when it comes from broken relationships or disappointment in relationships or abuse in relationships, it can affect your ability to trust others. And that leads you to putting up walls of protection that keep you isolated or disconnected. Yes, you're keeping people out, but you're also keeping yourself stuck in. You're keeping yourself trapped when you build up an emotional wall. And I know about that. Oh, honey, let me tell you something. I was the greatest mason. I would put up an emotional wall in 0.2 seconds. But then I began to suffocate behind that wall. I began to suffocate behind that wall. Because hurt can have a profound impact on trust. Okay, yes, that is the truth. When trust is broken or violated, yes, we are impacted by that. But we get to choose what we continue to do with that experience. Because when someone experiences hurt, especially from those they trust, it can lead to a deep-seated fear of being hurt again. And this fear often causes a person to become wary and guarded in their interactions, which makes it very difficult to fully trust others, even those who may have no intention of causing you harm. So many people get in relationships and they beaten the person with the switch from the last relationship. This is why it's so important to heal. If you've been betrayed by a close friend or a partner, you might begin to question the motives of others, wondering if they too will betray you. But whatever you expect, you will experience. That's why healing is very necessary, because the doubt is going to create a barrier between you and other people, which prevents you from forming deep, meaningful connections. We're created to be connected with each other. That's why there is such an emotional void in the world right now, because everybody is afraid to trust everybody. But that's because there's a wound, an emotional wound within you that has not been healed. But the only person who is truly being hurt by that is you, because you're the one who is feeling disconnected and isolated. It's why so many people feel lonely, because they won't open up to trust. It causes us to create this self-protection mechanism, which is called an emotional wall. And we withdraw and we shield ourselves from potential harm. And while these defenses can help protect against further hurt, they can also prevent the development of trust in new relationships. The fear of being vulnerable and exposed may lead to a reluctance to open up, to share, or to fully engage with others. And fully engaging with others and being transparent and opening up your heart, being intimate, is essential to building trust. I'm so grateful that I gave myself the opportunity to heal, y'all, because I have experienced, pain and betrayal and heartbreak and past relationships, 2 marriages that didn't work. It was a lot of infidelity that was happening. But again, this was an extension of me not feeling good enough. So I had to attract people who were going to support my feeling not good enough, my feeling insecure. And having given myself the opportunity to heal through that, now I'm experiencing this amazing relationship, and I am so grateful that I gave that to myself. And you have to be willing to sit with your shit, right? Sit with it. Why do you feel the way that you feel? Why are you showing up in life the way that you're showing up in life? How did you get where you are? How did you participate in the creation of your experiences? Because our relationships, are simply an aspect or a reflection of who we are, or how we are, how we think, how we feel, what we believe, what we do. We do not attract to ourselves what we want. We attract to ourselves who we are. And so we're going to talk about insecurities tomorrow. But if you're someone who's walking around with a whole bunch of hurt inside of you, what you're going to do is attract someone to you who is going to support your vibration and frequency of hurt. What does that mean? They're going to hurt you. You're going to experience hurt through that person, right? And yes, when hurt is experienced repeatedly, it can lead to the generalization of mistrust. For example, if you've been hurt by a few people in your life, you might start to believe that most people are untrustworthy. No one is trustworthy. So many people are dealing with that right now, but this generalization makes it difficult to distinguish between those who deserve your trust and those who don't. And if you're focusing on not trusting people, you are going to draw those people to you. Trust me, it happens every single time. Whenever you look for something, you're going to find it. So if you're suspicious that someone is going to hurt you and you go looking for stuff, you're going to find something to support your beliefs. We can all find anything and everything to support our beliefs. That's one of the beautiful things about life, but also one of the not so good things about life, right? So if you are experiencing challenges right now in rebuilding trust after hurt, then, you got to take some time with yourself. You got to be patient. You got to search for the things that you need. You got to reassure yourself sometimes and be positive about what's available to you. Whatever you believe, you're absolutely correct. If you believe you can, you're absolutely correct. If you believe you cannot, you're absolutely correct. And the reason why you want to heal the hurt is because if you don't, hurt has a cyclical nature. It continues to come back around, but life is always presenting us with opportunities to learn, to move through, to overcome, and to grow. And we can either choose to be in a place of fear, or we can choose to be in a place of faith. You can't be in both places at the same time. You either believe that everything is going to be okay, that you deserve the best in life, or you fear that nothing will be. And wherever you focus your attention, that's what you allow to be your experience. So letting the shit go is vital for you. It's vital for your happiness. It's vital for your peace. It's vital for your joy. And yes, you can choose to hold on to the hurt. You can choose to hold on to what people have done to you in the past. But who's truly being affected by that? You. Because in the long term, the impact of hurt on trust and your relationships leads to breakdown. Without trust, relationships struggle to thrive. And the lack of trust can cause distance, resentment, and a lack of intimacy. You don't want someone to really see you. You don't want to open your heart because you're afraid you're going to be hurt. But that's one of the things about really opening up to love. You do take the risk on being hurt. But what if everything goes right rather than something going wrong? Because if we truly are the creator of our reality based on how we think, then why not choose to think that everything will go right? Why not choose to believe that if you restore your trust after hurt, that you're going to draw to yourself amazing relationships because you're going to feel better. Your emotions are going to be better. And so you're going to give yourself an opportunity to attract to yourself what you are, wherever you are vibrating. And the reason why you want to heal hurt is because emotional hurt is going to have a physical impact. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about how emotions affect your physical. Because there are too many people today who are sick, and the root cause of their sickness is resentment, stress, unforgiveness, heartbreak, anger. Let's not forget that one. So when you experience emotional hurt, your body often reacts as if it's under physical threat. This triggers the stress response, which is also known as the fight or flight response. During this response, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. How many people walking around with a big old belly? That's because there's too much cortisol in your body. That's where the body carries it, right in the midsection. So how you feeling? What you holding on to? You want to let go of the hurt because prolonged exposure to stress hormones can lead to a variety of physical health issues, including increased heart rate and blood pressure. Too many people got high blood pressure. And a big part of that is, oh, Lord, this person causing my pressure to go up. It's the things that we think and the things that we say we're creating in our body. Constantly elevated levels of stress hormones can strain your cardiovascular system. And that can lead to hypertension and increasing the risk of heart disease. I'm telling you, people can get off of their medication if they heal those emotional wounds. Digestive problems. How many people are experiencing acid reflux? Taking Tums, like it's peppermints after everything that they eat. Because stress is interfering with your digestion. And it can lead to irritable bowel syndrome as well as stomach ulcers. How much people ain't using the bathroom? You're holding on to that physical shit because you're holding on to that emotional shit. You got to let the emotional shit go. If you are not using the bathroom after every meal that you eat, you should be pooping at least once a day. If you are not, you're retaining shit. And the body is made to release it. The same way that you are made to release your emotional stuff. You don't want to hold on to that. It's because it will create muscle tension and pain as well. This was something real for me. Oh my God. I used to have so much pain up in my shoulders and in my lower back. And then it started to go into my hip. And I recognized how I was, holding myself. Because when we don't feel good about something or when we feel emotionally distraught, we have a tendency to tighten up in our body. And I did this to the point where even today, I'm very conscious of how I'm standing. And I still will sometimes like tense up, especially if I'm thinking about something, right? And you got to breathe and you got to relax. Because holding that tension in your body is going to create back pain. It's going to create neck and shoulder tension. It's going to create hip pain. It's going to create knee pain. Because the body needs to be in complete and perfect alignment. And if you're holding on to emotional pain, emotional hurt, that's what we're talking about tonight, right? We're talking about the H in shit. Then that is going to manifest into your body, causing tension. It cause you to have disturbances in your sleep. Emotional hurt can significantly impact your sleep patterns. When you're emotionally distressed, you find it difficult to fall asleep or stay asleep. I know that's the thing for me. Honey, that's why I can't carry stress, because sleep is very important to me. I love to sleep. And when you are emotionally disturbed, there's going to be disruptions in your sleep, and that's going to create fatigue and low energy. And guess what else it causes? It also causes weight gain. Yeah, studies have shown that sleep deprivation is linked to weight gain because it leads to hormonal imbalances. That's that cortisol. And where's that stored? In your stomach area. And then if you eat for comfort, like me, back in the day, I would eat a whole pound and a half of Oreos, y'all. Don't judge me. I was going through a lot of pain back then. The big bag of Oreos, not the little bag of Oreos, the big one. Right? Because we want to eat. We want to do something to make us feel good. And what do we often turn to? Sugar. But that affects us later on. Then we get gastrointestinal issues. And hey, the gut is referred to as the second brain. I've been doing a lot of study on the gut. Like me, I've started eating sauerkraut and all kind of things that's going to put the good bacteria in there, right? Because whenever your gut is unhealthy, your body is unhealthy. And your gut is going to be unhealthy when you're carrying a bunch of emotional hurt. So, if you're having trouble breathing, if you're having chronic fatigue, if your body start tightening up, all of a sudden now there's autoimmune disorders that you're being diagnosed with, you find that something is going on with your heart, you might need to look into what you're carrying emotionally. Skin problems, stress is going to cause you to break out. You got to heal. You got to recognize the connection between emotional hurt and physical ailments. And you got to give yourself permission to let the shit go. Therapy, coaching, stress management, all of these things can help to alleviate the emotional pain. And you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to be healthy, and you deserve to be whole. So, emotional hurt is not just a mental burden. It can manifest in the body as well in ways that significantly affect your physical health. By understanding this connection, you can take proactive steps to address both the emotional and the physical aspects of your well-being. This is why it's important for you to get to a place where you say no to the shit. No to your shit and no to other people's shit. Because too many people are carrying other people's shit. You're allowing people to hurt you. You're allowing people to inflict you in ways that is creating emotional disturbances for you. You get to decide what you allow and what you don't allow. You get to decide what you deal with and what you don't deal with. And if you're tired of the shit, like I was tired of the shit, y'all. I was tired of feeling stressed out. I was tired of feeling fatigued. I remember I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I was going through a lot of stress then. The morning I told my ex-husband it was over, that night I was looking at my sister's dead body in the morgue. She had been killed in a car accident. I was going through so much stuff. I was diagnosed with mitral valve prolapse, that's a condition of the heart, and fibromyalgia. And it was an extension of all of the emotional pain and stress that I was going through. But I hate medication. I hate pills. And when they told me that I needed to be on these pills that they prescribed me for the rest of my life, I was like, oh, hell no. I need to figure this out. I need to figure this shit out, literally. This shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers out, even though I didn't have that acronym yet. I knew I needed to figure some shit out because being on medication for the rest of my life was not an option. And I did the work. And so you have to be willing to do the work to let the shit go. Again, shit is something we're all going to experience. Life be lifing, y'all. But it gives us an opportunity to move through, to overcome, to grow, and to evolve, and also to be there for other people. You know, Spirit said to me, you couldn't help anybody with their shit if you didn't go through shit. So it helped me to be a little bit more comfortable with the shit that I went through. Because now I can help other people to let their shit go. Right? Your test is your testimony, your mess is your message. But if you're tired of the shit, if you're tired of the pain, if you're tired of feeling the heartbreak, if you're tired of losing sleep, if you're tired of feeling stressed out, if you're tired of feeling sad and unhappy and unfulfilled and stuck, then All those are indicators that you need to do something different and have a different experience. And you can. And you deserve that. And if you don't give it to you, who's going to give it to you? Right? So acknowledge what's going on within you. Choose to forgive yourself and other people. You know why you got to forgive yourself? Because you allowed it. Choose to forgive yourself and choose the other people, because forgiving yourself and others is a powerful way to release hurt. It frees you from the burden of carrying the pain that no longer serves you. How is carrying the past pain, how is that serving you? How is that elevating you? How is that making you healthy? How is that making you happy? How is that making you whole? It's not. So then it's time now to transform that hurt into strength. And when you confront and you process your hurt, you can transform it into a source of strength, resilience, and compassion, which allows you to grow and thrive. You could understand other people's stuff. You could be more empathetic. I'm getting really into empathic leadership training now, right? Because we as leaders, we as parents, if you're a parent, you're a leader. We have to learn how to understand what other people are going through, not be so judgmental and so critical. Now, if you're on here tonight and you are a critical, judgmental parent, stop it. Stop it. You are negatively impacting your child, and that negative impact can be felt and carried by them for a long time. But more often than not, when you're critical of your child, is because you're critical of you. There's some things about yourself that you're not happy with. So you got to heal that. You got to heal that shit. Don't pass that stuff on to your children. You know, I did it in the beginning with my children. And I remember one time I was disciplining, I was forcing my daughter to eat vegetables. She hates mixed vegetables. She hates mixed vegetables to the day, and she's 33. And because I was forced to sit down to the table to eat the food, I was doing the same thing to her. And as she was eating it, she was doing the same thing that I did as a child, which was like feeling like she was going to throw up. And as I watched, I said, why are you doing something to her that was done to you and you didn't like it? And then I had a conversation with her about, okay, let's come to a compromise with what type of vegetable you want to eat. You're going to eat, because you got to eat some vegetables, but I'm going to let you choose which one. She's like, okay, I'll have some broccoli with cheese. Before that, she said corn. I said, corn is not a vegetable, right? But again, we have to stop passing these wounds onto our children or affecting our children with the wounding that we have that's not been healed. Okay? So I want to thank you so much for joining me for day 3. This is day 3 of my 5-day challenge. Tomorrow, we're going to be breaking into insecurities. And I'm going to be back here, same bad time, same bad channel, on YouTube, on TikTok. Share it with someone. Tell them to follow me so they get notifications of when I go live. And, you know, if you're recognizing that you need to do some stuff to let some shit go, then send me an email, Denika@DenikaCarothers.com. And my name is Denika Carothers, and I talk shit. Shame, hurt, insecurities, and triggers. I help you to let your shit go, because shit is much better out than it is in. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock p.m. right here on TikTok, right here on YouTube. Have a good evening, guys.